Hey everybody, Laura Whitmore here with Strategic Test Prep. And the SAT just happened this past weekend. If you didn't know, now you know. Pretty exciting. It was the last test of 2022 and pretty significant for most of you guys watching this video. If you're a senior, it meant it was the last test you could take before regular decision apps are due in January. If you're a junior, it was probably the first test you've attempted. And so that's significant. And then if you're an international student, this is the last chance you could take the paper version of the SAT. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack all the feedback I got from students as to what you guys thought about the test. I'll be interested to see if you guys watching this video agree with the students that I'm going to highlight. And then what I want to do is take all the feedback you guys have given me and make my professional prediction as to what I think the scoring curve is going to be like for the December 2022 SAT. So make sure you stick around till the end of this video so you can get my prediction. And here we go. All right, quick thing first. If you've been watching my channel and you have not yet subscribed, shame on you. Make sure you smash that. No, I'm going to use an SAT word. Make sure you thwack that subscribe button below so that you can continue to get updates and learn all the tricks of the trade from me every Wednesday when I post my new video. So section 1 actually was a pleasant surprise. To be honest with you guys, I was super jealous that I'm not allowed to take the December SAT. From what I heard from the majority of students out there, the reading was more fair and easier than normal. So one of my students said, it went well. The first section was better than usual. Now, this was a student that I have been working with who notoriously ran out of time. We worked really hard on the reading section the last couple of months, and he did a ton of different practices and different tests. So for him to feel this way, that it went better than usual, is really good news for me. I wanted him to do well and I wanted him to succeed, and I trust his opinion because he's seen so many different tests. Now, another person who actually is a viewer of the YouTube channel gave a very detailed summary of how they felt about the SAT. So shout out to you, Om Patil. Om said, reading was average, easier in my opinion. Awesome. So that really reconfirms what, a couple of my students said. Now, obviously, the reading section still has its challenges and it's not all rainbows and lollipops all the time. I heard from quite a few people that the reading section was pretty boring. Miriam said the reading section passages were super boring. Oof. I can only imagine. I wonder what they were about. I don't know if anybody told me specifically what the 5 passages were about. So if you guys remember what the passages were about, comment below. I'm curious. I heard, from various students that they struggled with time. Another student actually in the States here that I work with said that he had 3 different clocks in the room and they were all slightly off from each other. So he ran out of time with 4 to 5 questions left because it was so confusing trying to figure out what the time was. Which that is so unfortunate. And sometimes in tests, these crazy things happen. I was actually taking a test down in West Palm Beach, Florida, and the windows were wide open in the testing room I was studying in with all the high school students. And the high school band was practicing outside. Could you imagine trying to focus on a reading section when a band, not even a good band at that, is having their practice? It was nuts. So did that happen to any of you guys? Did something crazy go on in your test center? Did somebody puke all over the place and you had to leave the room? Or I would love to hear, the stories, because sometimes they're just so funny or crazy and you never know what's going to happen on test day. The thing that's awesome about the reading is if you keep watching my videos and if you keep at it, you can succeed. It was really nice to hear some feedback from my students about how well they did. I had one student here tell me that she used the answer seeking strategy and it was the first time she didn't run out of time, which is really awesome. Also, I will just say, if you struggled on the reading section and you're just getting started and you're a junior, I would definitely recommend taking my online self-paced course. It's basically structured the same way that I teach my in-person classes. So I will link it up here right now. Just go ahead and click that and it'll take you through 6 different modules where you're going to learn strategies, tools, and be able to practice for all sections of the test. So I would definitely recommend you check that out. Okay, let's talk about the writing. I am not surprised. As usual, the writing was just the writing. The writing has been like the consistent section since the test was redesigned in 2016. It seems to be very fair. It seems to be very straightforward. It seems to be very predictable. And it seems to be pretty much the same from test to test. So I had one of my students say the writing was fine. I had another student say I was really comfortable with the writing. And then this was really cute. Miriam said, I kept hearing Laura's voice saying, pick the shortest sentence. So again, if you need help and you want to work on your grammar rules, that also is in the course. So again, check that out. And I'm really glad to hear that helped you, Miriam. That makes me super happy. So yeah, the writing was fair. On to the math. You guys, I don't know what was going on with the math, but some of the comments for this test really surprised me. Trending thus far, like over this past year or two, it appeared to me that the math was getting easier. And there were some mixed reviews for this test. So I had say math was no problem, except the obscurity on the questions was off the charts. I never saw any questions like that on any QAS from any year. That is so interesting to me. What is obscurity? Why was it obscure? Like, I would love to hear more. So another student of mine who's an amazing student said, a lot of it wasn't as much math, more so those common sense percent questions. So I'm wondering if that ties into the obscurity. It sounds like there were different questions tested on this test versus the other tests. However, I did hear a lot of students saying that my predictions were accurate too. So I think that there was probably a mix of things that they test, like the circle equation, finding the radius, or knowing how many solutions there are to a system. But then it sounded like they folded in some new stuff that hadn't been seen yet, which is really interesting. Now, somebody else, Margame Z, said math no calculator actually needed a calculator rather than the calc math section. I mean, how crazy was this no calculator section, I'm wondering. Now, Maria Beatrice said, I ran out of time for most of the gridding questions. This is also on section 3. Now, this was the international version, but I'll tell you guys from looking at both a domestic and international test from the same month recently, I can confirm that the tests are very, very similar. So whether you are a US student right now or an international student, this feedback applies to either way. There you have it. That's some of the feedback. So now let's get into my predictions. So because the reading section seemed fair and actually kind of on the easy side, I would equate the reading curve for this December 2022 SAT to be synonymous with the December 2021 SAT reading curve. So I think that there's a chance that if you get one question wrong, you'll still get a perfect score. That seems pretty standard for the reading section for the most part. And then, if you get one wrong, you're going to go down by 10 points roughly, except for, when you get 4 wrong, you stay at a 38. When you get 7 wrong, you stay at a 36. But that's what I would predict the reading conversion to be like. Now, I would predict the writing curve to be just like the October 2022 US test, because the October SAT was the closest released test to now. And the writing section, since it's been consistent over time, I would anticipate the way that they're going to score this writing practice is going to be very similar to the way they scored the October writing practice. So what will happen is if you miss one, you'll get a 39, so you're going to lose 10 points. And then if you miss one after that, you go down about 10 points every time. So it's nothing crazy. It's not like a test 10 conversion chart. If you ever saw practice test 10, it's nuts. If the section 3 is truly as hard as many people are saying it was, the hardest section 3 that I could find on record was the March 2018 test. In the March 2018 test, there were 10 hard questions on section 3. So what I did was I pulled the March 2018 conversion chart, and there's a possibility that the curve could be like the March 2018 test, where if you miss a question, you'll still get a perfect score. And if you miss 2 or 3 questions, you'll still get a 790. And then if you miss 4 questions, you get a 780. And if you miss 5 questions, you get a 770. So that's a pretty decent curve. And my fingers are crossed for you guys. I really, really hope that that's the case for you when you get your scores back. I just wanted to say congratulations to all of you guys. It's not easy to go into a test and sit there for 3.5 hours. So congrats, you are done. And please keep watching my channel, keep coming back, and happy prepping.